On Friday evening in Palu, families gathered for a beach festival. 10 seconds of shaking at 5:02 in the afternoon gave no hint of what would come next. Within minutes, a wall of water, up to 11 meters tall, hit the shore. Indonesia's tsunami warning system never sounded. How could a city be swallowed so quickly, without a single official alert? A festival crowd pressed close to the stage on Talise Beach, drawn by music and the promise of a cool evening by the water. At 5:02 p.m., the ground lurched beneath their feet. The shaking lasted only 10 seconds, but in that instant, everything changed. Some people froze, gripping friends' arms or clutching phones. Others stumbled, trying to steady themselves as the stage rattled and banners snapped in the wind. The music stopped. For a moment, confusion hung in the air. No one knew whether to laugh off the tremor or run. Video clips from that evening show the clock on a nearby shop reading 17:02 as the tremor hit. In the footage, the crowd hesitates, glancing at the sea. The sand vibrates underfoot. Dancers and musicians exchange nervous looks, waiting for instructions that never come. There is no siren. No official voice calls out from loudspeakers. The only warning is the uneasy silence after the quake, broken by the sound of shifting metal and distant car alarms. Within minutes, people on the beach spot something strange. Water drawing back, then rising fast. Some shout, pointing to the horizon. Others keep filming, not realizing what is about to happen. The sense of celebration evaporates, replaced by a growing fear. The festival, meant to unite the city, has become a trap. In those seconds, the crowd stands exposed with no idea that a wall of water is racing toward them, unstoppable and unseen. Tsunami scientists studying Palu Bay describe a disaster that unfolded with almost no warning. The earthquake on September 28th ruptured the Palu Koro fault just offshore, releasing a surge of energy that shifted the seabed in seconds. Unlike the massive subduction quakes that usually trigger tsunamis in Indonesia, this was a strike-slip event, one that slides sideways, not up or down. Yet the wave that followed was anything but ordinary. Within 3 to 6 minutes of the quake, the first tsunami surge reached the city's waterfront. Standard warning systems, designed for waves that take 10 minutes or more to travel from deep sea to shore, were outpaced by local physics. The secret lay beneath the surface. As the earthquake rattled the bay, it triggered submarine landslides along the steep underwater slopes. Huge masses of sediment collapsed toward the center of the bay, displacing water far more quickly and violently than tectonic movement alone. Palu Bay's shape made matters worse. The bay is long and narrow, with steep walls and a southern tip that points directly at the city. Waves funneled through this corridor, growing taller and faster as they approached land. Field teams later measured run-up heights between 6 and 11 meters along the coast, enough to swallow buildings and sweep cars inland. Numerical models show that even a modest initial wave can double or triple in height, as it is squeezed through Palu's natural bottleneck. One tsunami specialist put it simply: in Palu Bay, a landslide-driven wave can reach the shore in less than 5 minutes, leaving almost no time for escape. The mechanics of the disaster set the stage for the devastation that followed, both along the waterfront and deep into the city's neighborhoods. Inland from the shattered coast, the Balaroa neighborhood faced a disaster that defied belief. The earthquake did not just topple buildings, it turned the very ground to liquid. Residents described the earth rippling beneath their feet, houses groaning as concrete foundations lost all support. In a matter of minutes, entire blocks began to slide sideways, drifting as if set adrift on a slow-moving river. Around 1,700 homes were obliterated, swallowed by mud and debris. Satellite images and ground surveys later revealed that some streets and buildings shifted hundreds of meters from where they once stood, vanishing into a landscape that no longer matched any map. For those trapped inside, escape became nearly impossible. Survivors recall floors tilting, walls buckling, and the sound of rushing water beneath their homes. The liquefied soil offered no footing for rescue teams. Heavy machinery could not cross the unstable ground, and aftershocks threatened to trigger further collapse. Responders were forced to work from the edges, knowing that many victims were buried too deep for recovery. Authorities eventually declared Balaroa a mass grave, its center too dangerous and unstable to excavate. In the aftermath, geologists pointed to the alluvial soils beneath Balaroa, long known to be at risk, as the silent accomplice in the neighborhood's destruction, raising questions about how thousands came to live atop such fragile ground. Petobo was once a thriving village on the southern edge of Palu, home to nearly 2,000 people. In the moments after the earthquake, the ground beneath Petobo began to move, not just shaking but flowing. The earth, saturated with water from years of farming and rain, lost all strength. What followed was not a landslide in the usual sense, but a slow-motion collapse that stretched across a 3-kilometer corridor. Entire streets, homes, and a mosque were caught in the moving soil. Buildings tipped and fell, swallowed as the ground opened up beneath them. Some structures drifted hundreds of meters before vanishing underground. Families who had lived side by side for generations were scattered or entombed together in the mud. Rescue was impossible. The soil remained unstable for days, turning Petobo into a shifting expanse of mud and debris. Heavy equipment could not cross the surface. Even on foot, responders risked being pulled down by the earth itself. In the days that followed, officials faced a grim reality. The village could not be recovered. Petobo was declared a mass grave, its boundaries marked but its people lost. Survivors from neighboring districts spoke of searching for loved ones in vain, returning each day to a landscape that no longer matched memory or map. The loss was not only physical, but communal. A village erased, its history and families buried beneath a field of moving earth. The designation of Petobo as a mass grave forced families to mourn without the chance for burial rites or closure, deepening the trauma that would linger long after the mud had settled. Indonesia's tsunami warning system was once hailed as a model for the region. By 2018, however, the network of deep ocean buoys meant to detect killer waves had become a patchwork of broken equipment and missing signals. Years of maintenance delays, theft, and shrinking budgets left the system hollow. The buoys, designed to relay real-time data about water movement, stopped transmitting one by one. By the time the Sulawesi earthquake struck, not a single operational buoy covered the waters near Palu Bay. Internal documents from the National Meteorological Agency show repeated requests for repair funds and replacement parts, many of which went unanswered as budgets tightened. Procurement files list canceled contracts and postponed upgrades, while technical logs reveal months, sometimes years, without a single status update from key sensors. The official protocol called for at least 10 minutes to verify a tsunami before issuing a public warning, but with the hardware down, that window became meaningless. The warning system had been reduced to a theory, present on paper, absent in practice. At 5:02 p.m., the ground shook. Within minutes, a wall of water crashed through Palu's waterfront. Official records show that a national tsunami warning was issued, but by the time it reached bureaucratic channels, the wave had already erased entire neighborhoods. Local sirens stayed silent. No cell broadcast arrived. Hundreds of residents waited for an alert that never came. In the aftermath, investigators pieced together a timeline. The national warning was canceled just 34 minutes after the earthquake, because distant sea level gauges failed to register a major wave. But in Palu, that decision came far too late. The city's most vulnerable, families on Talise Beach, children in coastal homes, elders unable to run, had no signal to flee. Communication towers had collapsed. Emergency loudspeakers sat idle. The absence of a clear warning in those first 6 minutes sealed the fate of thousands. The final count was 4,340 confirmed dead, with 667 still missing. For many, the silence was the last thing they heard. Indonesia remains among the world's most disaster-prone nations. Yet over 120 million people still live within tsunami risk zones. Warning systems only save lives if they work, and if lessons are acted on, not just studied. The next wave will not wait for technology to catch up. Stay vigilant, stay prepared,